Oh my god, this trait is so bad. Who came up with this? What is up, guys? We're going to be going over all of the new persona changes. This will be a guide just so you guys understand the persona trait, the new ones, the adjustments, and know when to use them in your match. So, right here, we're going to go over the first one, the worst trait in the damn game. If you ever run this as Hunter, you suck. I'm sorry, bro. You suck. Nah, I'm just kidding. But I'm saying that to say, in other words, this trait sucks. This trait sucks. I do not advise it at all. So let's see. It is called Vigilance. So this only works for the first 3 cipher machines. Once any of the 3 ciphers pop, I'll show you guys right here. I get a movement speed bonus and a pallet destroying speed bonus, and on top of that, it can stack. Now that's actually not bad, the fact that it can stack. But let me tell you guys something. This trait no longer exists. This can no longer be used once you get a chair. NetEase gave me a trait, giving me a nudge on the back for getting 3 cipher kited. Who the fuck is using this? That is always what I've been dealing with in tournaments. If I get kited just a certain amount of time, at that point it's too late. This speed boost will not really help me. You really need a greater benefit for getting 3 cipher kited, but this trait specifically, it has its own tier of shit tier, absolutely shit tier. Next trait is called Obsession. So when I get into a chase with someone, if I down them or if I get into chase and I leave them, I get this speed boost. I'm going to show you guys right here. So I hit this guy and I get a speed boost once the pursuit ends. So this is actually quite useful. 6% for 15 seconds. This has its use when you have a slow playstyle. If you have a switching targets playstyle, this is very useful for if you need that speed boost to apply pressure elsewhere. This is actually, it can be viable. It just depends on the hunter and the playstyle. Next is Famine. During the first 50 seconds, all decoding speed is reduced by 6% if I'm not near any survivor within 18 meters. So that is good once again for the slow playstyle, but only in the early game because it says within the first 50 seconds. So if you have a hunter, if you have a playstyle that is slow, that a hunter is meant to be played slow in the first 50 seconds of the game, this will buy you more time. If you think about it, 6%. Theoretically, that is a total of 24% on every survivor, or let's be more realistic, you might be near someone or very close to someone pushing them off their cipher. So at that point, it's 18% overall on the board. It can be useful. And then the last one is called Overwhelm. So Overwhelm is basically, this is going to take me a while, but I'll do it. This is definitely my favorite trait because you get rewarded for succeeding. You see, Vigilance, you get rewarded for sucking. This one, you get rewarded for succeeding. So now, I've downed 2 different survivors, and now I recover 5% faster on every single attack. This is permanent. That's 5% now. It didn't, the 10% doesn't apply to this attack, but now it's applied to every other attack. Let's go to the 3rd person. Now let's do it to the 4th person. 10%. This is 10% attack recovery right here, and now it goes to 15. This rewards you for being good. This can be used on any hunter because of how general it is, which is the attack recovery speed. I would say the only time you shouldn't consider this is if your hunter has other ways of damage besides the attack recovery. So I'm just going to show you guys what the 15% looks like real quick. Boom, it's literally Berserker. You have built-in Berserker now. So I say you can run this on most hunters because most hunters to deal damage rely on the basic attack, and the attack recovery speed will always help you in your match. This can be useful, in my opinion, generally a very good trait to have. So first of all, let's actually go ahead and look at the persona web and see how things have moved, how the nodes have changed. So we're going to start off here. This was an addition. There was no replacement here. the control freak, claustrophobia, and following this note of control freak came vigilance, shitty trait. Next is right here, obsession. Now, nostalgic actually used to be here, but it moved. Obsession right here, it took over, and on top of the following this node came the other new trait called famine. This is how it changed. Next is nostalgic. Once again, as I said, it used to be here, but now it's here. Nothing replaced this. This is just an addition, adding on to Desperate Fight. And the last one is right here between these two. No survivors used to be right here, but it moved down. So now you must get Overwhelm first before you go for no survivors. And I am really glad that this is the way it is. I think Overwhelm is more useful than no survivors. Now we're going to go over all of these new traits, all of the traits that got adjusted, and we're going to categorize them so you guys know when to and when not to use them. This talent has changed. It has simply buffed in numbers, and this is for knockback effect and slowdown effect. So this is for support characters against support survivors. This is when this would be useful. So this is really under the anti-support / anti-harass category. And next we have Aftereffects, where this improves the efficiency of slugging. Once again, they did not buff the numbers, but in addition, the self-healing speed is slower, so this makes slugging once again more effective. Next is Control Freak, which I think they buffed the numbers, and this is actually more map dependent. This is one of the most map dependent traits in the game, because on Arms Factory and Red Church, off the top of my head, you cannot actually use this unless it's basement. And basement, this is a very niche use. Basement is a very niche use for this to work. Once again, this can be used on, I think, every single map besides Arms Factory and Red Church reliably. Every other map, there is a way to use this, and it can really help you in your chase. Next is Street Sweeper. So this is good for hunters, where it is best for the survivors to be healing. That is how niche it is. You don't run this trait a lot because it's quite hard to find survivors that are healing. This is really only for hunters, where you must heal. You gain so much advantage by healing against these hunters. And off the top of my head, that is Joseph, that could be Mad Eyes, that could also be Hermit. Next up is No Survivors, where they simply buff the number, I think, from 8% to 10. And once again, this, your attack recovery speed, and I honestly don't know. I guess this is for the slugging category. This allows you to slug better. Maybe there's a harasser nearby and you can actually use this to your benefit. It is nice, but it's a very niche case. Next is Giant Claw, where you reduce the struggle speed, but now instead of reducing the wiggle effect, the dumb wiggle effect, right? You don't really need that. You reduce the decoding speed of all survivors by 8 seconds for 10, 15, or 20% when a survivor breaks free from a balloon by any means. So I really thought about this, like, okay, no survivor is going to struggle free from me if I reduce their struggle speed. But this is when harassers, this is when support survivor characters come into play. When they succeed, you benefit. So when a harasser succeeds, other survivors' decoding speed is reduced. This falls now under the anti-support, anti-harass category. Next is Nostalgic, where they increase the trigger range from 24 to 32 meters. This actually has a lot of use. Like, you can always use this as any hunter. It just depends if you really need it or not. I do know that hunters, a lot of the time, they fear losing their target. So I think this is generally just good to stay on your survivor, stay on your first kiter, and tunnel them out. This can be good. Next is Addiction. And this was still, before this was anti-harass, anti-support, and it still is within Addition. Within Addition, that when you're stunned, it immediately applies a slowing effect to survivors within 24 meters for 4 seconds, up to 20%, minimum 10%, depending on the distance, cooldown 20 seconds. This reduces the efficiency of support and harass. So this falls under the anti-support, anti-harass category. Once again, when they succeed in their support and their harass, you benefit by slowing them down. This is very nice depending on the team comp. And next is Impact, where I think they buffed the numbers. Yeah, they buffed the numbers for increasing the self-healing time and being healed by survivors after being hit, but this excludes being on the ground. So this used to work on the ground, but now it doesn't. And I think that is it for all the changes. My final thoughts for the persona changes. These will be my final thoughts. Overall, a lot of these changes help slugging and playing slow. So Obsession and Famine, if you play slow, these will be very beneficial for you. And Obsession helps with slugging. Slugging is more effective with After Effects. Overwhelm is generally very good on most hunters. I'm so glad that it's right here, because they could have made it right here, but this is so much more useful and generally it's more versatile than this. There has been a lot of anti-harass changes and generally very good changes that'll help most hunters play the game. And then there's that one trade that just fucking sucks. Just don't use it. And no, you guys have to experiment and know when to use all of these in conjunction or separate. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time.